March 17th, and this is a Fox News alert. A break in the case. Bombshell new evidence nearly 6 months after the murder of a Wayne State University officer. The DNA just discovered in the ambush of 2 other officers that could put an accused killer behind bars.
Where was your passion and where was your concern when they all said that there was no connection to Russia? Where was it then? You crickets from you guys.
White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer there sparring with the press yet again. His message to the mainstream media as he stands by President Trump's wiretapping claims.
That was a spicy
that was needed.
Well, President Trump definitely not loving this McDonald's tweet. So did the Hamburglar really just hack the fast food giant's Twitter account? Got to see this. Fox and Friends First starts right now.
Fox and Friends First on this Friday morning. I'm Jillian Turner.
And I'm Heather Childers. More snow possibly on the way for us anyway this weekend. Happy St. Patty's Day to you. But we begin with a difficult story.
Straight to a Fox News alert now. A cup killer may be off the streets thanks to bombshell new evidence.
Yeah, it is good news. The suspected gunman, Raymond Durham, a violent, well-known offender, is accused of ambushing 2 police officers in Detroit Wednesday night. Authorities now say that Durham's DNA at the crime scene matches DNA on a flashlight and a glove that was found at the murder of Wayne State University officer Sergeant Colin Rose. He was killed execution style last November while investigating some car break-ins. Police say that the same type of gun was used in both shootings, and the lab is now testing the bullets that were recovered.
Now to another Fox News alert breaking right now. A home left unrecognizable, broken into about 1 million pieces when it explodes in the middle of the night. Rescue crews in Maryland combing through debris this morning. 1 person is unaccounted for at this hour. Several other homes in the neighborhood just outside of Washington, D.C. are damaged, some even destroyed. It's unclear, however, just what caused this blast. And a massive fighter igniting the skies in Raleigh, North Carolina. You can see giant flames pouring out the windows as an empty apartment complex that's under construction. People forced from their homes as flames spread to nearby buildings.
Crane just fell. The crane's falling.
The raging inferno destroying everything in its path. Neighbors reporting traces of debris up to 1 mile away.
Very intense. Well, the latest investigation into White House claims of wiretapping at Trump Tower coming up empty this morning. Top Senate Intelligence Committee leaders, Republican Richard Burr and Democrat Mark Warner, issuing the most definitive rejection to date, saying, quote, "We see no indications that Trump Tower was the subject of surveillance by any element of the United States government." And despite those Senate findings, the White House is standing by the president's wiretapping claims. Press Secretary Sean Spicer getting heated, to say the least, answering questions at this briefing.
It's interesting to me that, you know, just as a point of interest, that when one entity says one thing that claims one thing, you guys cover it ad nauseum. When Devin Nunes came out and said, "I think it's very possible," yesterday, there was crickets from you guys. That there was no. Hold on. I understand that, Jonathan. Where was your passion and where was your concern when they all said that there was no connection to Russia? Where was it then? You crickets from you guys. It's interesting how when evidence comes out and people who have been briefed on the Russia connection come out and say that there was nothing that they have seen that proves a connection, you choose not to cover that. You don't stop the narrative. You continue to perpetuate a false narrative.
And we may find out more about the alleged wiretapping next week. That's when FBI Director James Comey testifies before the House Intelligence Committee.
The Democrats are desperately fighting back against President Trump's immigration agenda. Liberal lawmakers introducing a new bill to stop the White House's plan to build a wall and scale back on immigration enforcement along the border. This is a federal appeals court denies a rehearing for President Trump's original executive order, pausing travel from 7 Middle Eastern countries now down to 6.
And the Trump administration defending its America First budget blueprint, firing back at critics, including Hollywood liberals who are leading the charge. Garrett Tenney live for us at our nation's capital with the budget battle that is brewing. Good morning, Garrett.
Heather, good morning to you. Well, it turns out people don't like it when you take things away, and that's why budget proposals are almost never entirely popular, even when we're on track to go $20 trillion into debt as a nation. Here are some of the winners in the president's budget yesterday. Defense is by far the big winner and is expected to see a 10% increase to its budget. Homeland Security and Veterans Affairs will also see a slight tick up as well. The losers are led by the Environmental Protection Agency as a whole, along with various programs within the State Department and some cuts that Hollywood is not too happy about at all. The budget calls for the elimination of funding to a number of arts and humanities programs, including both the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities, as well as the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Actors and artists flooded Twitter with their disgust, including comedian Josh Gad, who wrote, "It seems insane to have to defend the arts, but here we are. The hashtag right to bear arts is what makes us great. Without science and arts, who are we?" Billy Eichner tweeted right to President Trump's daughter Ivanka, saying, "Hello, dear. At what point will you be telling your children that your father killed Snuffleupagus?" And actress Jamie Lee Curtis tweeted, "After all the wars are fought, what remains are people, art, nature, and culture. Trump can try, but he cannot cut us out of the picture." Now, despite those proposed cuts to the arts and humanities, it's the State Department that's poised to be one of the hardest hit, losing 28% of its budget. Yesterday in Tokyo, though, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said he is just fine with that.
I'm confident that with the input of the men and women of the State Department, we are going to construct a way forward that allows us to be much more effective, much more efficient, and be able to do a lot with fewer dollars.
And at the White House, Budget Director Mick Mulvaney also defended the proposed budget, saying it's just the fulfillment of the president's campaign promises.
We had America First, an America First candidate. You now have an America First president, and it shouldn't surprise anybody that we have an America First budget. $54 billion of additional defense spending. We have some more details today on where that money is going.
Now, on Capitol Hill, there was also a lot of questions around this budget, and that is where it will have to go through before it is passed. Still a lot of debate to go, and we are told it will not look the same as it was proposed yesterday by the time it comes to be.
Which it never does. You know, President Obama's first budget that he presented was also not accepted. Got one vote in favor.
Well, one thing you can guarantee in Washington is the president's budget will not be passed as issued.
Thank you, Garrett.
You got it.
Well, President Trump's budget staying on message with the promises that he made on the campaign trail. Eli Stokols, White House correspondent for Politico, agrees that the budget has some appeal, but says that there are still some flaws to work out.
I think you can look at this as sort of a political document. It's not going to go anywhere in Congress, but you can look at it as sort of a message of the president's priorities to his base. Defense, strong border, some signals. And if you get Democrats in the position of having to defend, the NEA and PBS funding, that's not a bad thing for Donald Trump. Although I think you look at Meals on Wheels, that's something that's getting a lot of attention. Cuts to a program that gives millions of seniors hot meals. I think there are some politically problematic things in this budget also. And I think I talked to somebody today, even a foreign policy defense hawk, a Republican on Capitol Hill, who said they're not even happy because they want more money for defense. They just think it's completely unrealistic. They say nobody's really happy in this budget, and you're not going to really have a serious budget until you start to talk about entitlements, and they're trying to avoid doing.
And a major victory for our nation's heroes thanks to President Trump. The White House demanding that every VA building across the country hang the president's portrait effective immediately. This after it was taken down at one Florida hospital. And it's a story we've been following all week for you. Now, Jackie Ibanez joins us live with the brand new details. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning. Well, direct orders from the very top following pressure from veterans and U.S. Congressman Brian Mast. Portraits of President Trump and the VA secretary will soon be hung in every VA facility across the country. The move comes days after the Republican congressman and double amputee war vet noticed a Florida VA hospital was missing the portraits and took some action. Listen.
Happy to be able to get these hung up. We always say in the Army, right? Nothing takes 5 minutes.
But shortly after that, those portraits were taken down and deemed inappropriate. The VA claiming they couldn't authenticate the photos and had to follow protocol.
We as veterans, this is what we do. When we see a problem, we address it and we try to fix it right away. And I think this is exactly what pisses people off about the government, is they don't have that kind of reactionary capability to just fix a problem immediately. And here we say they made an even bigger problem out of the situation.
And since we brought you this story earlier in the week, several viewers sent similar experiences at other VA facilities around the U.S. But yesterday, Congressman Mast spoke to the White House directly, and the administration won't stand for it. All VAs now told to hang temporary presidential portraits until they are sent official images from the government printing office. Next hour, we will get reaction from a Marine Corps veteran who claims his VA told him there was no photo, get this, because President Trump would get impeached. Unbelievable.
Well, I'm glad there's some resolution to that story, because we have had, our viewers have been very upset about it. Yeah, thank you. Well, the Trump administration taking some initiative to make sure that our veterans get the care that they deserve. The House passing a bill giving VA Secretary David Shulkin complete authority to fire employees who are incompetent or engaging in wrongdoing. Now, this comes after complaints that not enough bad apples were weeded out from the 2014 wait time scandal, blamed for the deaths of dozens of veterans.
And deadly police ambushes hitting a decade high now as lawmakers want to end this war on police. The Blue Lives Matter bill now on the governor of Mississippi's desk. The proposal would double penalties for crimes targeting police and first responders. Right now, it's already on the books in Louisiana. 14 other states as well, including Mississippi, are trying to get similar bills passed.
March Madness tips off again this afternoon after the first full day of tournament action.
First, the upsets, Middle Tennessee and Xavier beating their higher-seeded opponents, Minnesota and Maryland. And the Cinderella story of the tournament turns a new page, with Northwestern barely beating Vanderbilt to keep its first-ever NCAA tournament run alive.
That's exciting for them. And here's your current bracket. Number 1 seeds Villanova and Gonzaga made it through their first game. 16 more matchups today, including top seeds North Carolina, my alma mater, and Kansas, debuting against Texas Southern and UC Davis. Long way to go.
Yeah, a long way.
Much like the budget.
But maybe the budget has a little bit longer to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the time now is 11 minutes after the top of the hour, and a dramatic escape as volcano erupts, sending tourists running for their lives. How they managed to make it out as hot lava burns boulders, covering them in smoke and steam.
Oh, my goodness. And now Facebook is under fire. The new social media site now helping violent protesters avoid the police.
Sir, she can have my seat, okay? Everyone should experience first class at least once in their lives, and Annie shouldn't miss out just because she can't afford it.
No, ma'am, I'm afraid that's not allowed.
Help me, I'm poor.
Nope, that will not get you into first class, but we do know what will. The secret to a free upgrade next. And welcome back. Facebook under fire for refusing to allow police departments to use its data to monitor protesters.
And should security really trump privacy? Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, is here this morning to break down this new plan. Good morning, Cheryl.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Well, Facebook is in a face-off with law enforcement. It started last fall when the ACLU released a report that Facebook, its subsidiary Instagram and Twitter, provided feeds of users' data, videos, pictures, things like that, to a program that police then used to track racially charged protests in Oakland, California, and Baltimore, Maryland. The group at the time asked the companies to stop the practice, and they've just responded. In a statement, Facebook's Deputy Chief Privacy Officer, Rob Sherman, said, quote, "The change of rules will ensure developers cannot use data obtained from us to provide tools that are used for surveillance." Now, it is prohibited for police to use the data to track individuals or groups. That's starting now from Facebook and these other sites. Facebook also said that Monday's update was the result of months of work with advocacy groups like the ACLU, Color of Change, and the Center for Media Justice. Well, those groups believe all technology companies should support human rights and dignity, but law enforcement, I'm sure, disagrees with all of that. Guys, back to you.
Sure, we'll hear more about that. Yeah. Cheryl Casoni live for us. Thank you, Cheryl. I know you've been waiting for this. One of the nation's top universities now backtracking after being accused of firing a law enforcement dispatcher over her political views. Kim Dearman says that the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse canned her for supporting President Trump's immigration halt.
I had a casual conversation with the young lady that I was training. Apparently she was offended by me indicating that I thought terrorists or immigrants should be sent back to their Middle Eastern country.
Well, following the backlash, Dearman has been offered her job back, but says that she's worried about returning.
Liberal snowflakes hiding out in their safe spaces now have their own country song.
I've got friends in safe spaces. If you don't go with us, then you must be racist.
Two comedian country stars are taking a stance for conservatives in America with a tribute to snowflakes everywhere. Friends in Safe Spaces, a political spin on Garth Brooks' song, as we all know, Friends in Low Places. So far, they've racked in over 1,000 views.
That's hilarious.
I know.
It's really funny.
It's a great story.
Well, a new baby breakthrough that could keep this from happening.
The embryo did split in two, but it didn't split equally. All the purity and strength went into Julius. All the crap that was left over went into what you see in the mirror every morning.
Chinese scientists have found a way to create the perfect, in effect, designer baby by editing out bad genes from embryos that cause defects and disorders. Researchers say it's still too early to know when the process will be used. I would say so.
I don't know about that. Well, the time is now about 18 minutes after the top of the hour, and undocumented immigrant outrage. The university putting politics ahead of the law and using your money to help illegal students.
The math is right. It's actually the gender that was wrong.
And the New York Times called out by the White House budget director.
Carly Shimkus coming up with us here next for stories that have got everybody talking this morning.
Hello, sneaking up behind you there. Take a look at this. The White House getting in the holiday spirit for St. Paddy's Day, keeping the tradition of dyeing the fountain water on the South Lawn bright green to celebrate. So what did they use to dye that green?
Food coloring?
Food coloring?
It must be.
That's a whole lot of food coloring.
A lot of food coloring. We had a green bagel here backstage this morning. It's almost as good as this fountain.
Are you sure it wasn't just old?
No, McDonald's is quick to place blame, saying hackers fired off an insulting tweet about President Trump from the company's account.
Yeah, you got to hear about this. Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7 Sirius XM 115 here with that story and some more.
Absolutely. And we're talking McDonald's here, the account that promotes Big Macs and today Shamrock Shakes. But yesterday it became the epicenter of political discussion after someone sent an anti-Trump tweet using the company handle. The tweet called the president a disgusting excuse for a president and also said that he has, quote, tiny hands. Well, that message quickly spreading across social media, some even calling for a boycott. Now, the president is a vocal fan of McDonald's, even celebrating his Republican primary win over a Big Mac and fries. Well, looks like he can't keep on loving it. After conducting an investigation, McDonald's says their account was hacked by an external source, causing people to speculate who the guilty culprit might be. Now, Braden on Twitter thinks he knows who did it. That's right, the Hamburglar. You can never trust that guy. And this from a fake Joe Biden Twitter account. He says, I guess McDonald's wasn't loving it. I don't know. I think it was the Hamburglar. Yeah. He's a pretty feisty guy.
I don't know. It's pretty smart, though. Just that one tweet and then deleted it right away.
Exactly.
And everybody was talking McDonald's yesterday. Heather, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, so Mick Mulvaney called out the New York Times. They really can't get a lot of stuff right.
Yeah, yeah. You know, the president is, has been known to publicly dress down the press from time to time. Well, Mick Mulvaney did that yesterday, but not for the reason you'd think. Take a listen.
I'm going to call on the New York Times because they're in trouble. They printed this morning that I'm the father of 17-year-old triplet girls. My 17-year-old daughter really wishes that we're happy, or really wishes that had happened, but my two 17-year-old sons are really upset.
I love that. A lot of people laughed at that one. Mulvaney did give the Times some credit, saying their math was right. They just got the gender of his kids wrong.
Just halfway wrong.
Yeah. Halfway wrong.
Exactly.
Almost right, but not quite.
Not quite.
And then we've also heard that President Trump has sent a letter to the oldest living survivor
this sweet
of Pearl
moment
Harbor.
during yesterday's White House press briefing. Sean Spicer telling reporters that the president sent Ray Chavez, the oldest surviving Pearl Harbor veteran, a letter wishing him a happy birthday. Take a listen.
Our nation owes Mr. Chavez's generation and he a great generation, a debt of gratitude for extraordinary legacy of liberty, freedom around the world, fighting to ensure security and prosperity for millions. The President signed the letter wishing that he hopes to have several more birthdays to come.
Isn't that great? Now, Chavez turned 105 earlier this month. And I got to say, he is an amazing guy. He spends every Tuesday and Thursday still at the gym.
Wow.
He even spends his birthday there. Yeah, it's his favorite place.
I wonder how much he lifts.
I know. Well, the president signed his name with a message, keep going. It looks like this guy really is.
So it looks like we should work out every day.
Yeah, I know. Be a little bit more like Mr. Chavez.
105, that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Carly.
So the time is now about 25 minutes after the top of the hour, in case you're keeping track. Wasn't really worth it. Former Governor Mike Huckabee now calling out MSNBC anchor Rachel Maddow.
You can't fix stupid, and that's just stupid. To think that Donald Trump paid $38 million just so his wife could get citizenship. Donald Trump isn't that stupid, but the guy, Rachel Maddow, is for saying it.
Why Rachel Maddow could soon make history as the first reporter sued by a sitting president of the United States. Not a very good distinction.
Good morning to you. You are watching Fox and Friends First. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. I'm Heather Childers. I happen to be Dutch Irish.
We're very excited.
Yeah.
I'm not Irish
excited.
at all, but I love St. Patrick's Day. I'm Jillian Turner, and it's now 29 minutes after the hour. Let's get right to the new budget battle that's brewing on Capitol Hill.
The Trump administration defending its America First budget blueprint, firing back at critics slamming the plan, as critics slam the plan with Hollywood liberals leading the charge.
Yep, Garrett Tenney is live in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital this morning, with all the reaction coming out of there. Good morning, Garrett.
Heather and Jillian, good morning to you. You know, one thing you can count on in any budget proposal is that not everyone is going to be happy. And with President Trump's first proposed budget, one of the most vocal groups is a familiar one, Hollywood. And that's because the proposal calls for the elimination of funding to a number of arts and humanities programs, including both the National Endowment for the Arts and the Humanities, as well as the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Here's some of what Hollywood had to say. Comedian Josh Gad wrote on Twitter, "It seems insane to have to defend the arts, but here we are. The hashtag right to bear arts is what makes us great. Without science and arts, who are we?" Actor Billy Eichner attacked the president's daughter, Ivanka, tweeting, "Hello, dear. At what point will you be telling your children that your father killed Snuffleupagus?" Actress Jamie Lee Curtis tweeted, "After all the wars are fought, what remains are people, art, nature, and culture. Trump can try, but he cannot cut us out of the picture." The White House is defending the budget and says with our nation facing $20 trillion in debt, it could no longer justify giving taxpayer money to certain programs.
I think it's probably one of the most compassionate things we can do. We're trying to focus on both the recipients of the money and the folks who give us the money in the first place. And I think it's fairly compassionate to go to them and say, look, we're not going to ask you for your hard-earned money anymore.
And one of the hardest hit in the proposed budget is the State Department, which is set to see its budget slashed by 28%. But yesterday in Tokyo, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said he thinks that's a good thing.
I'm confident that with the input of the men and women of the State Department, we are going to construct a way forward that allows us to be much more effective, much more efficient, and be able to do a lot with fewer dollars.
And as we've been talking about, the key word here is proposed budget, because this still has to be approved by Congress. And yesterday, members on both sides of the aisle expressed a lot of concerns with the president's budget and said there will be changes.
Yeah. No one ever likes to hear about anyone losing their jobs.
No. Especially on St. Patty's Day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Garrett.
Thanks.
You got it.
Brand new proof that President Trump's Trump's immigration policies are now working. Agents in Arizona are arresting a Mexican crossing the border who had already been deported over a reckless homicide charge from Tennessee last year. The arrest of Genaro Galvan Mora is the latest example of President Trump's push to deport illegal criminals. The policy inspired by tragedies like the murder of Kate Steinle, who was allegedly killed by an illegal immigrant deported 5 times.
Outrage growing at the University of Maryland over its catering to illegal immigrants at the taxpayers' expense. The university, funded by taxpayers, creating an undocumented student coordinator position. Critics say that the university is just playing politics.
It's about politics, and this protest is not legitimate. Look, a university can disagree with the law, but that does not give them the right to aid and abet and harbor illegal immigration, which is really what all of these sanctuary policies and those at the University of Maryland are all about.
Here's what happened. Creating the position, it is just one of 64 demands made by student groups to the school to protect illegals on campus. So let's keep talking about this. What do you think? Do you think that the university's move is putting politics ahead of the law? Log on to Fox and Friends First Facebook page right after the show. We'll have a live debate for you. #KeepTalking.
And now a Fox Business alert. Hundreds of thousands of cars are being pulled off the road.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, here with what you need to know before heading out the door this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, especially if you're driving in a Hyundai, guys. Good morning to both of you. So this is a recall of the Sonata, 978,000 of them, to be more specific. It's because of potentially a faulty seatbelt issue. They've discovered it came from the manufacturing and a default. They're mid-size sedans, 2011 to 2014. It's the Sonata Hybrid. As well, the 2011-2015 version of that. One injury, minor injury, reported after this.
Wow. We're hearing also that now, finally, the nice guy might not come last after all. Is that something we can count on,
Finally,
Cheryl?
being nice might get you somewhere.
Never got me anywhere.
Gosh, it never helps me either. But yeah, I'll tell you what, this is it's Monarch Airlines, they're a European airline, but what they're doing is they really want to promote maybe a friendlier sky, if you will, around the world. So they're offering their passengers that they deem to be nice and polite, chivalrous, that show courtesy and respect, a free seat upgrade. So it's up to the gate agents to let you know if you've been chosen, extra leg room, priority boarding, things like that. But they're going to do it all year and see how it works. Maybe it'll make things a little bit easier.
Well, maybe temper some of those attitudes that we all get. Yeah.
Practice your smiles.
Thank you, Cheryl. Well, so St. Patrick's Day, some deals there?
Yeah, there are. Okay, of course there's deals for St. Patrick's Day. And who am I going to start with but, yes, McDonald's, the Shamrock Shake. Heather, you and I had that on the show. That was really fun. So they've got the Shamrock Shakes. Those are some deals today associated with them. Dunkin' Donuts has a Shamrock Sprinkle Donut. You know how I feel about the donut, right? Burger King, an Oreo Irish Mint Shake. That sounds pretty good. And then Krispy Kreme is giving out a green glazed donut today.
Nice. Oh.
There they are. We were debating this in the green room. Do you want a green glazed donut?
Yeah.
We're kind of on the fence.
I don't know. It sounded good, and then you showed them, and I was like, maybe not.
Maybe it's healthier.
Yeah. Yes, made of spinach.
Tastes the same.
Yeah.
Don't call me Krispy Kreme. It tastes the same, I promise.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you. The time is now 36 minutes after the hour, and a dramatic escape as a volcano erupts, sending tourists running for their lives. How they managed to make it out as hot lava burns boulders, covering them in smoke and steam.
And President Trump's brand new budget just released. A closer look as we break down the winners and the losers up next.
And bring in the PC police, from proposals now being forced a school to creating a firestorm by dropping a time-honored tradition.
From LA to Tokyo, I'm so fancy.
And that brings us to Look Who's Talking. And this morning, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee is slamming Rachel Maddow's claims as ridiculous.
You know, the great philosopher Ron White says you can't fix stupid. And that's just stupid. To think that Donald Trump paid $38 million just so his wife could get citizenship. Donald Trump isn't that stupid, but the guy, Rachel Maddow, is for saying it. Look, if Donald Trump wanted to spend some money just to grease the pathway, he could have probably done the old-fashioned way and just made a few political contributions, and that would have taken care of it. You don't pay $38 million. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Good grief, that's off the rails.
That's what he thinks. Well, President Trump revealing his first budget proposal, already laying out plans to deliver on his early campaign promises.
One of the commitments I made is that we're going to straighten out the whole situation for our veterans.
We build a military might so great, and we are going to do that none will dare to challenge it.
We will soon begin the construction of a great wall along our southern border.
So where exactly is the money going? Here to break down the budget is the chair of business and finance at the King's College in New York City, Brian Brinberg. Thank you so much for coming in early for us.
Great to be here.
All right, so there's a lot to get through here. So let's bring up right away the budget losers. This is where some cuts are going to be made. Health and Human Services, $15.1 billion. Education, $9.2. HUD Department, $6.2. The Agriculture Department, $4.7. The EPA and the State Department, $13.5. And then $11 billion for other departments. So a lot of people taking a cut here.
Lots of people. It's very broad-based cuts. Some big cuts in a few departments. The State Department is a big one. Education, Health and Human Services. But this is really across the board. The president is asking every single agency, every single department, almost, to make a cut because he wants to shift money to defense and Homeland Security and Veterans Affairs.
Yeah, for all the money added, there are an equal amount of cuts, is what they wanted to make
That's
sure
right.
people knew
One of
about.
the big priorities here is they don't want to add to the deficit for next year, so they want to make sure that every increase for defense and Homeland Security is offset by a cut somewhere else, and he's able to do that with this budget.
And his budget director, Mick Mulvaney, saying that if he promised it on the campaign trail, it is in this budget.
Yeah, you certainly can't argue. He's keeping his promises here. Everything he said he wants to do, he's doing. Now, it's important to point out that this is a very small portion of the budget. We're calling this the president's budget.
Right.
It's actually the skinny budget.
Yes.
It's only part of his budget. The full budget's going to come out in mid-May, so we're talking about roughly 30% of federal spending.
Well, let's take a look at some of the winners. Let's end on a good note for these folks. The budget winners were the military spending and border wall and Veterans Affairs.
Yeah, the president has made clear he wants to move in the direction of hard power. He wants to build the military back up. It was cut as a percentage of GDP over the Obama administration. He says, no, we want to bring that back up.
And there's some Republicans who wanted more.
Exactly. He's having to thread a needle here because on one hand, you have Democrats saying we don't want to boost military spending. On the other hand, you have some Republicans saying this isn't enough. So he's trying to bring it back in line with sort of recent historical levels, and he's able to do that with this budget. We'll see how much pressure he gets from both sides when they actually have to pass the budget.
No doubt, a lot. And in terms of the State Department, you brought that up, and the EPA, because those are really the main ones people were talking about yesterday when this came out. Do you think that those numbers will change?
You know, every number is going to change here because this has to go through Congress, and every single program has a constituency who loves it, has a congressman or congresswoman who loves it, so everything's going to change here. Yeah, I think that the State Department budget's probably not going to be cut quite as much. There are a lot of people, both on the right and left, who say we shouldn't really cut foreign aid that much if we want to project ourselves internationally.
Yeah. But yet Rex Tillerson said he could do it. He can make it happen.
Well, if anybody can make it happen, a guy who ran ExxonMobil can.
Yeah, just more efficiently. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And let's bring in Brian Kilmeade to see what is coming up on Fox and Friends. I think you'll probably go through these numbers a little bit more and have a special St. Paddy's Day treat.
Absolutely. I think the big news is this year I remember my green tie, right, Joel? Last year it showed up half Irish without anything green, so that's the big news. Other things we have going on, well, the president's budget's going to be front and center. The defense build-up's going to be there. That is Brian's plaid shirt. Just say, no, go ahead, Brian. Okay. Well, go ahead. Go ahead. There we go. Yeah. Also, I have Geraldo coming up. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel will be here. Dr. Siegel will be here. And guess what? I'm hosting with Ainsley Earhart.
Hi, everyone.
Look at that.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. We're green today.
Guess what? She might not be wearing that outfit when you see her again.
Don't know if I will be.
All right. And for Steve, we got an elf. All right. St. Paddy's Day all morning long. We're going to have a lot of fun and give you a lot of substance. Where else can you do that?
Lots of
Don't
green.
answer.
Lots of green. If you don't wear green today, though, you get pinched. I heard Ainsley mention that yesterday.
Right. Beats being slapped.
All right. Well, don't go away. We'll stay tuned for Fox and Friends, but we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Fox and Friends. First, an FDNY paramedic and a mother of 5 killed after a carjacker steals her ambulance. This is the aftermath. And then that ambulance runs over her. The suspect overpowering Yadiro Arroyo, kicking her out and then crushing her under the wheels. The horrifying scene in New York City unfolding right in front of her partner. The thief only getting a short distance away before he was caught by an officer and a group of Good Samaritans who helped pin him down. He is now charged with murder.
And terrifying video of the moment a BBC crew barely escapes an erupting volcano.